Kim Dae adjusted his glasses and stared at the computer screen. The numbers made no sense. For 3 days, the radio telescope in Seoul had been picking up strange signals from deep space, not the usual cosmic noise or random pulses from distant stars. This was different. This was organized. Park Hana, come look at this, he called to his partner across the lab. Park Hana walked over, carrying her coffee mug. She worked for the Korean Space Agency and had been helping Kim Dae with the SETI project for 2 years. They had never found anything interesting before. Just silence from the stars. "What is it?" she asked, looking at the screen. "Something is sending us messages. Look at these patterns." Kim Dae pointed to the waves on his monitor. "This repeats every 12 hours, and here, this sequence shows up exactly 47 times. Park Hana set down her coffee. Her face went pale. "Are you sure this is not from Earth? Maybe a satellite?" "I checked everything. This is coming from outside our solar system. Way outside." Kim Dae pulled up another screen. "The signal is coming from the direction of the Vega star system. That is 25 light-years away. Across the galaxy, on a massive space station called Nexus Prime, an alien named Veltar was having a bad day. He worked in the communications department, listening to radio signals from primitive worlds. Most planets never developed beyond simple tools and fire. The few that did usually sent out basic radio waves for maybe 100 years before they destroyed themselves. Veltar had 8 arms and skin like gray leather. His species, the Kethvar, had been part of the Galactic Confederation for 3,000 years. The Confederation included 847 different alien species. They were peaceful, advanced, and very bored. "Another primitive signal," Veltar muttered, looking at his screens. "Third planet from a yellow star. They call their world Earth, and themselves humans. How boring." He was about to file the report and forget about it when something caught his attention. The humans had been sending radio signals for over a century. That was unusual. Most species either stopped sending signals after 50 years or blew themselves up with nuclear weapons. Veltar studied the human transmissions more carefully. Television shows, music, news broadcasts, and something called the Internet. The humans seemed to be sharing information freely across their entire planet. They had nuclear weapons but had not used them to destroy themselves yet. "Interesting," Veltar said to himself. He sent the data to his supervisor with a note. "This species might be worth watching." 3 levels above Veltar's office, Commander. Vestan of the Hegemony received the report. The Hegemony was the military branch of the Confederation. They were the ones who dealt with new species, usually by conquering them. Vestan had blue skin and stood 9 feet tall. His species, the BA. Valkar were natural warriors who had joined the Confederation after losing a war against them 500 years ago. Now they worked as the Confederation's police force. Humans, Vestan read from the report. Chemical rockets, nuclear fission, electromagnetic communications. Primitive but not completely stupid. He looked at Earth's location on his star map. The planet was rich in metals and had plenty of water. The humans had already done most of the mining work. They had built cities, roads, and factories. It would save the Confederation a lot of time and effort. Perfect for resource extraction, Vestan decided, and the population could be useful for labor. Back on Earth, Kim Dae was getting excited. More signals kept coming from space. They were not random. Someone was definitely trying to communicate with Earth. "We need to tell the government," Park Hana said. "This is too big for just us." "I already did. Lee Jun from the Defense Ministry is coming here tomorrow." Kim Dae could hardly sit still. "This is it, Hana. This is first contact with alien life." Park Hana was not as excited as her partner. Something felt wrong about the signals. They were too simple, too basic. If aliens were smart enough to travel between stars, why were they sending such primitive messages? "Kim Dae, look at this part of the signal," she said, pointing to her screen. This section repeats in every transmission. It looks like coordinates. Coordinates to what? I think it is the location of our solar system. Someone is telling other people where to find us. Lee Jun arrived the next morning. He was a tall man with short black hair and serious eyes. He had been in the Korean Special Forces for 10 years. Before joining the Defense Ministry, the government sent him to investigate anything that might be a security threat. Show me everything, he said without greeting anyone. Kim Dae and Park Hana explained their discovery. Lee Jun listened carefully, asking questions about the signal strength, direction, and timing. When they finished, he was quiet for a long time. Have you told anyone else about this? He finally asked. No, sir. Just the ministry and a few people. At the space agency, Park Hana replied. Good. Keep it that way. Lee Jun stood up and walked to the window. I need to make some phone calls. Do not talk to anyone about this. Do not publish any papers. Do not even tell your families. But this is the greatest discovery in human history, Kim Dae protested. Maybe. Or maybe it is the end of human history. Lee Jun turned back to them. If someone is broadcasting our location across the galaxy, we need to know why, and we need to be ready for visitors. 2 days later, the visitors arrived. Kim Dae was working late when every alarm in the building started ringing. Emergency broadcasts filled the radio waves. He ran to the window and looked up at the night sky. 3 enormous shapes blocked out the stars. They were ships, each one bigger than a city. They had no lights, made no sound, and cast huge shadows across Seoul. Park Hana, he shouted. Are you seeing this? Park Hana was at her computer, tears running down her face. Kim Dae, they are sending us a message, all of them, broadcasting on every frequency. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical. It spoke in broken Korean, then English, then Chinese, repeating the same words over and over. Surrender. Resistance futile. Compliance required. You have 72 hours. Kim Dae felt his stomach drop. This was not first contact. This was invasion. Outside, people were running in the streets. Car alarms were going off. The alien ships hung in the sky like dark clouds, waiting. Lee Jun burst through the lab door, breathing heavily. We need to evacuate this facility. Now. Where? Can we go? Park Hana asked. Those ships are huge. They could destroy the entire city. Maybe. But they want something from us alive, or they would have already attacked. Lee Jun helped them pack their equipment. The signal you found was not a greeting. It was a dinner bell, and we just became the meal. As they ran from the building, Kim Dae looked back at the alien ships. Somewhere up there, beings from another world were deciding the fate of humanity. He wondered if Earth had any secrets that could help them fight back. He had no idea how right he was. The world was falling apart. At least, that is what it looked like on television. News reports showed fighter jets crashing into invisible barriers around the alien ships. Missiles exploded harmlessly against energy shields. World leaders appeared, on every channel, begging for mercy and calling for surrender. In Washington, the president spoke with a shaking voice. We must accept that humanity is not alone in the universe. These visitors have technology far beyond our understanding. We have no choice but to submit to their demands. Similar speeches came from Moscow, Beijing, London, and every other capital city. The message was clear. Earth was defenseless. But in a bunker deep beneath Seoul, a different conversation was taking place. Choi Bin sat in front of 12 computer screens, his fingers flying across the keyboard. He had not slept in 2 days. Coffee cups and empty food containers covered his desk. To most people, he was just another computer programmer. They did not know he used to work for the government. In cyber warfare. Status report, said a voice behind him. Choi Bin turned around. A woman with short black hair and cold eyes stood in the doorway. Her name was Yoon Sora, and officially she worked as a physics professor at Seoul National University. Unofficially, She had been building weapons for the Korean government for 15 years. All networks are active, Choi Bin reported. The aliens are monitoring normal communications channels, just like we expected. They think they know everything we are planning. What? About our real communications? Yunsora asked. Quantum encrypted channels are working perfectly. They cannot see them, cannot break them, cannot even detect them. Choi Bin smiled for the first time in days. The aliens think we are sending messages by radio and internet. They have no idea about the quantum network. On the other side of the world, Nam Wu was having a similar conversation. He stood in an underground facility in Nevada, surrounded by military officers and scientists. To the aliens watching from space, this looked like a desperate meeting of American leaders trying to figure out how to surrender. It was actually something much different. How long until the weapons are ready? Asked General Morrison, the head of the American Space Command. 18 hours, Nam Wu replied. He had been working as a liaison between different countries for years, but his real job was coordinating secret military projects. The orbital platforms are moving into position. The lunar bases report ready status. Mars Base 7 is online and armed. Mars Base 7? Morrison looked surprised. I thought that was still under construction. That is what we wanted everyone to think, Nam Wu said quietly, including people in our own government. Above them, the alien ships continued their patrol. Commander Vestan watched the human responses with satisfaction. Everything was going exactly as planned. Status report, he ordered. His communications officer, a small alien with 6 eyes, responded immediately. The humans are panicking as expected. Their military responses have been completely ineffective. World leaders are preparing surrender. Documents. Excellent. Any signs of hidden technology? None, sir. Their most advanced weapons are chemical explosives and simple nuclear devices. Their space program uses primitive chemical rockets. No energy weapons, no shields, no faster than light. Travel. Vestan nodded. Maintain positions. Continue scanning for any surprises, but this species appears to be exactly what they seem, primitive but useful. What Vestan did not know was that every scan his ships made was being carefully managed. The humans had been preparing for this kind of encounter for decades, not because they expected aliens, but because they expected war with each other. The Cold War had never really ended. It had just become more sophisticated and better hidden. Every major country had secret weapons programs. Every space launch had dual purposes. Every communication satellite carried hidden military equipment. Park Hana stood in a control room that officially did not exist. It was buried 200 feet beneath a mountain in South Korea. The walls were covered with screens showing data from around the world. Stealth mode is holding, she reported to Lee Jun, who stood beside her with his arms crossed. The aliens cannot see our real military installations. Their scanners are picking up exactly what we want them to see. What about the orbital platforms? Lee Jun asked. All 37 platforms report ready. The aliens think they are old communication satellites. Park Hana switched to another screen. The lunar manufacturing facilities are operating normally. The alien ships have passed directly over them twice without noticing anything. Lee Jun allowed himself a small smile. Phase 1 is complete. Time to move to Phase 2. The aliens had been watching human television and internet transmissions for over a century. What they saw was a species that fought constantly but never quite destroyed itself. Humans seemed to be very good at war but very bad at working together. This was exactly what humanity wanted them to think. In reality, the major powers of Earth had been secretly cooperating since the 1960s, not because they liked each other, but because they all understood the same thing. Space was big, dark, and probably full of things that wanted to hurt them. The public saw the Cold War, arms races, and political tensions. Behind the scenes, scientists and military leaders were sharing information and building defenses. Every nuclear weapon system had backup systems that could be controlled from other countries. Every space program shared data with programs they were supposed to be competing against. Kim Dae had been moved to a safe location outside Seoul. He sat in front of a computer, monitoring alien communications. What he found was both fascinating and terrifying. "They think we are like children," he told Yoon Sora, who had come to check on his progress. "Their messages back to their home world describe us as primitive but trainable." "What else do they say?" Kim Dae scrolled through more alien transmissions. "They plan to take most of our population as workers. They want to mine our planet for metals and water. They think it will be easy because we have no advanced technology." And they have. No idea what is really waiting for them, Yoon Sora said with a cold smile. The 72-hour deadline was almost over. Around the world, humans appeared to be preparing for surrender. Military units were laying down their weapons. Government officials were writing capitulation documents. Religious leaders were praying for mercy. But in the hidden facilities, something else was happening. Choi Bin typed the final commands into his computer. "All systems are active. Quantum communication network is running at full capacity. Every military installation on Earth, the Moon, and Mars is connected and ready." "What about the stealth systems?" asked Nam Woo over the secure channel. "Working perfectly. The alien sensors still cannot see our real technology. They think our most advanced weapon is a nuclear missile. In orbit around Earth, 37 objects that looked like old satellites began to change. Panels opened, weapons systems activated, targeting computers came online. The aliens had scanned them dozens of times and found nothing dangerous. They had been looking for the wrong things. On the Moon, underground factories that had been building weapons for 20 years prepared to reveal themselves. On Mars, a base. That was supposed to be a small research station powered up enough weapons to destroy a small fleet. And on Earth, in bunkers and hidden facilities around the world, humans prepared to show their visitors exactly what they were capable of. 72 hours were almost up. The aliens expected surrender documents and broken humans begging for mercy. They were going to get something very different. Lee Jun stood in the main command center, watching countdown timers on multiple screens. Around him, military officers and scientists waited for his order. "Gentlemen," he said quietly, "they wanted to see what humanity is made of. Let us show them." He pressed a single button. Around the world, humans stopped pretending to be helpless. The 72 hours had passed. Commander Vestan expected surrender. Instead, he got silence. "Communications. Send another message to the surface," he ordered from the bridge of his flagship. "Tell them their time is up. Begin pacification. Bombardment." The weapons officer, a reptilian alien with yellow eyes, activated the ship's main cannons. "Firing on major population centers now, sir." Bright beams of energy lanced down from all three alien ships. They struck Seoul, Tokyo, and several other cities. The beams were designed to destroy buildings and break human resistance without killing too many potential workers. The beams struck Earth's surface and disappeared. "What?" Vestan stared at his screens in confusion. "Weapons officer, report!" "Sir, our weapons are firing normally, but there is no impact damage. It is like something is absorbing all the energy." "Impossible. Run a full diagnostic." While the aliens tried to figure out what was wrong with their weapons, Shintai smiled in his command center beneath the Korean mountains. He was officially the director of the Korean space program. Unofficially, he ran humanity's most secret project. "Planetary shield generators are working perfectly," he reported to the other hidden command centers around the world. "All alien. Weapons fire is being absorbed and redirected into our power systems." "Excellent," came the reply from Nam Woo in America. "Their energy is actually making us stronger." The shields around Earth were not visible to the naked eye, but they covered the entire planet. They had been built over 30 years using technology that most humans did not even know existed. The aliens had scanned Earth hundreds of times and never detected them. Above Earth's atmosphere, Bay Luna checked her instruments one more time. She sat in the cockpit of a ship that officially did not exist. To anyone looking at it, her craft appeared to be a small research satellite. In reality, it was humanity's first combat spacecraft. Luna Base. "This is Ghost 1, she said into her radio. "All systems green. Ready for Phase 2. "Copy that, Ghost 1. You are cleared for weapon activation." Bay Luna pressed several buttons on her control panel. Around her ship, panels slid open to reveal weapons that should have been impossible for humans to build. Particle beam cannons, quantum torpedo launchers, and targeting systems that could track objects moving at light speed. She was not alone. Around Earth, 36 other ships decloaked simultaneously. They had been hiding in plain sight as old satellites in space. Junk! The alien sensors had looked right through them. Commander Vestan was having the worst day of his military career. "Sir, we are detecting multiple energy signatures around the planet," his sensor officer reported, his voice shaking. "There are ships appearing all around us." "How many ships?" 37, sir. And they are armed." Vestan looked at his tactical display and felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. The human ships were small, but his sensors were reading weapon signatures that matched Confederation military technology. Some of the readings were even higher than his own ship's weapons. How is this possible? Our intelligence reports said these humans barely reached their own moon. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we are receiving a transmission from the surface. Put it through." A human voice came over the speakers. It was calm, confident, and spoke in perfect galactic standard language. "Attention hegemony vessels. This is Admiral Ko Min of the Earth Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to power down. Your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Vestan could not believe what he was hearing. "How do you know our language? How do you have our technology?" "You have been broadcasting into space for thousands of years," Ko Min replied. "Did you really think no one was listening?" The truth hit Vestan like a physical blow. While the Confederation had been ignoring primitive worlds, some of those worlds had been studying Confederation technology, learning from their transmissions, copying their designs. "This is impossible," he whispered. 20 seconds, Ko Min continued. "I suggest you comply. Our weapons are significantly more advanced than yours." Vestan looked at his tactical officer. "Can we fight them?" The tactical officer studied his screens and went pale. "Sir, their weapons are targeting our engines, life support, and communication systems simultaneously. Our shields cannot stop. All of them. If they fire, we will be disabled in seconds." 10 seconds. Vestan had commanded warships for 200 years. He had never surrendered. But he had also never faced an enemy that had been preparing for this fight for decades while pretending to be harmless. "Stand down all weapons," he ordered quietly. On Earth's surface, Ko Min allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. He sat in a command center that had been built 50 years ago, preparing for exactly this scenario. Not because anyone expected aliens, but because smart military leaders prepared for everything. "Ghost Squadron, you may proceed with boarding operations," he said into his radio. Bay Luna piloted her ship toward the largest alien vessel. "Copy that, Control. Beginning docking procedures." As her ship approached the alien hull, she thought about how long humanity had been preparing for this moment. Every space program launch had carried hidden military equipment. Every communication satellite had secret weapons. Every research station had dual purposes. While the aliens thought humans were primitive, humanity had been building a secret fleet in space. While they thought Earth was defenseless, humans had been constructing underground factories and hidden bases. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They assumed that a species that fought itself constantly could not work together against A common threat. They were wrong. Bayluna's ship docked with the alien vessel. She put on her spacesuit and prepared to board. Behind her, 20 other human soldiers did the same. They carried weapons that looked primitive, but were designed specifically to work against alien technology. "Remember," she told her team over the radio. "We want prisoners, not bodies. We need to learn everything they know." The airlock opened and humans stepped onto an alien ship for the first time in history. Commander Vestan waited in his command center as human soldiers secured his ship. They moved with precision and confidence, like they had done this before. Their weapons and equipment looked crude compared to Confederation technology, but they worked perfectly. The human leader removed her helmet, revealing a young Asian woman with determined eyes. "Commander, I am Captain Bayluna of the Earth Defense Force. You and your crew are now prisoners of war." "This is impossible," Vestan said again. "Your species was supposed to be primitive." "We are," Bayluna replied with a cold smile. "We are so primitive that we still think war is something you prepare for in peacetime. We are so primitive that we never stopped building weapons, even when we achieved spaceflight." She walked closer to the alien commander. "You species achieved peace and prosperity. You forgot how to fight. We never stopped learning how to kill each other. The only thing that changed was the scale." Around Earth, the other alien ships were being boarded by human forces. Within hours, all 3 vessels were under human control. Their crews were in custody, their technology was being studied, and their communication systems were being used to send a very different kind of message into space. Kim Day sat in the main communication center, translating the message into dozens of alien languages. He had learned more about galactic civilization in 3 days than most humans learned in a lifetime. "Broadcasting on all frequencies," he reported to Ko-Min. "Send it," the Admiral ordered. The message went out across the galaxy at the speed of light, carrying news that would change everything. "To all members of the Galactic Confederation, this is Admiral Ko-Min of the Earth Defense Force. 3 hegemony vessels attempted to invade our world. They have been captured, their crews are safe, and will be returned when appropriate arrangements are made. Earth formally requests diplomatic contact with the Confederation government. We have much to discuss. We also wish to inform you that any further military action against Earth will be met with a response you are not prepared for. We have been watching you for over a century. We know where you live." The message was brief, polite, and absolutely terrifying to anyone who understood its implications. On Nexus Prime, Veltar stared at his communication screens in shock. The primitive humans had just announced to the entire galaxy that they had defeated a hegemony battle group. More than that, they had been spying on galactic civilization for decades. He immediately sent an emergency message to Confederation headquarters. Within hours, every government in the galaxy would know that Earth was not what it seemed. Back on Earth, Park Hana monitored alien communication networks as the news spread. She watched as hundreds of alien worlds went into emergency sessions. Some were angry, some were afraid, all of them were confused. "How long before they send a bigger fleet?" she asked Li Jun. "They won not," he replied confidently. "At least not right away." "How can you be sure?" Li Jun smiled. "Because now they know we have been watching them. They know we have their technology, and they know we are still alive, which means we have weapons they cannot understand." He pointed to the screens showing alien communications. "Look at their messages. They are not planning attacks." The captured alien ships hung in orbit above Earth like dark trophies. Inside the largest vessel, Commander Vestan sat in a human holding cell, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. A human guard brought him food. The guard was young, maybe 25 years old, and wore a simple military uniform. Vestan had been a warrior for 200 years and commanded fleets that could destroy planets. Now, he was getting meals from a child. "Your admiral wants to speak with you," the guard said in perfect galactic standard. "How do you all know our language so well?" Vestan asked. The young human smiled. We have been listening to your broadcasts for over 100 years. We know about your wars, your politics, your technology, and your weaknesses. What weaknesses? You stopped preparing for war because you thought you had achieved peace. The guard's smile faded. That was your first mistake. Ryujin stood in the command center of humanity's first interstellar battle fleet. The ships around him looked like normal Earth vessels, but they had been secretly upgraded with technology copied from alien transmissions. In the past week, human engineers had reverse-engineered centuries of galactic military development. "Status report," he ordered. "All ships ready for jump," reported his navigation officer. "Target coordinates confirmed. Weapon systems are armed and ready." Ryujin had been a naval officer before being selected for this mission. He understood that the best way to win a war was to make sure it never became a fair fight. 3 alien ships had come to Earth expecting to find primitives. Instead, they found a civilization that had been preparing for this moment for decades. Now it was time to show the galaxy exactly what that preparation meant. "Begin quantum jump," he ordered. The human fleet disappeared from Earth's orbit in a flash of light. Seconds later, they appeared in the hegemony home system, 300 light-years away. Hongnari sat in the communications center of the flagship, preparing to broadcast humanity's message to the galaxy. She had spent years studying alien psychology and culture. She understood what scared them. "Admiral, we are in position over the hegemony capital world," she reported. "All systems ready." "Begin transmission," Ryujin ordered. Hongnari activated the broadcast system. Her message went out on every frequency used by galactic civilization. Within hours, every world in the Confederation would hear it. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "This is Captain Hongnari of the Earth Defense Force. Our fleet is currently positioned above the hegemony homeworld. On the planet below, millions of aliens looked up at the sky to see 37 human warships hanging in their atmosphere. Ships that had appeared from nowhere using technology that was supposed to be impossible for such a primitive species. We are not here to conquer or destroy," Hongnari continued. "We are here to make a point. Earth is not the helpless world you thought it was. In the Confederation capital, emergency meetings were being held in every government building. Fleet commanders who had dismissed humans as primitives were now frantically trying to figure out how those same primitives had traveled across the galaxy in minutes. "How did they get here so fast?" demanded Admiral Kethvar, the Confederation's top military officer. "Our fastest ships would take weeks to make that journey." "Unknown, sir," his intelligence officer replied. "Their quantum jump technology appears to be more advanced than anything we have." "That is impossible. They were using chemical rockets just months ago." What Admiral Kethvar did not understand was that humans had been using chemical rockets in public while building quantum jump drives in secret. Every government on Earth had contributed to the project. Every space program had hidden its real purpose behind civilian research. Back in the hegemony system, Hongnari continued her broadcast. "For over a century, we have been listening to your communications. We have learned your languages, studied your technology, and mapped your star systems. While you thought we were fighting primitive wars among ourselves, we were actually preparing for something much larger." She paused to let that sink in. Across the galaxy, intelligence analysts were realizing the implications. If humans had been spying on them for so long, what else did they know? "We know about the trade routes that keep your civilization supplied. We know about the defense networks that protect your important worlds. We know about the political alliances that hold your confederation together." On Earth, Andong monitored the reactions from alien worlds. As humanity's chief strategist, he had planned this operation down to the smallest detail. The goal was not to start a war, but to end one before it began. "Phase 2 is complete," he reported to the command center in Seoul. All target systems are showing defensive responses. They are mobilizing fleets but not attacking our forces. Perfect, replied Ko-min. They are scared but not desperate. That is exactly what we want. The next phase of the plan was the most dangerous. Humanity was about to demonstrate capabilities that would either earn them respect or make them the galaxy's #1 target. Hongnari's broadcast continued. To prove that we are serious, we will now provide a demonstration of our defensive capabilities. Around the galaxy, quantum communication devices that had been hidden in space for decades suddenly activated. They had been disguised as space junk, asteroids, and comm relay stations. The aliens had ignored them completely. Each device contained a small but powerful weapon system, not enough to destroy planets or ships, but enough to disable them temporarily. And there were thousands of these devices scattered across Confederation space, initiating simultaneous strikes on military targets across 47 star systems. Hongnari announced. At exactly the same moment, alien military bases in dozens of systems lost power. Communication arrays went offline. Defense satellites stopped working. Warships found their engines suddenly inert. The strikes lasted exactly 60 seconds. Then everything came back online. No permanent damage had been done, but the message was clear. Humanity could reach anywhere in the galaxy at will. On Nexus Prime, Veltar watched his screens in amazement. Human weapons had struck targets across the galaxy simultaneously. The technology required for such coordination was far beyond what the Confederation possessed. How is this possible? He whispered to himself. In the Confederation Emergency Council chambers, panic was setting in. The humans had just demonstrated that they could disable any target in the galaxy without warning. If they wanted to cause real damage, nothing could. Stop them! We must negotiate, said Councillor Methtar, an elderly alien with silver skin and wise eyes. These humans have capabilities we do not understand. War would be suicide. They are bluffing, argued Admiral Kethvar. No primitive species could develop such technology so quickly. Then explain what just happened, Methtar replied coldly. Explain how they disabled 47 military installations across the galaxy in the same second. The Admiral had no answer. Back in the hegemony system, Hongnari delivered the final part of her message. We do not wish to be your enemies, she said, but we will not be your victims either. Earth requests formal diplomatic relations with the Confederation. We have much to offer each other. She paused again, then added with a slight smile. We also have much more to show you if necessary. The human fleet remained in position above the hegemony homeworld for exactly 1 hour. Then they disappeared as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving behind millions of confused aliens and a galaxy that would never look at primitive worlds the same way again. On Earth, Kim Day monitored the alien communication networks as news of the demonstration spread. Every world was talking about the humans. Some were angry. Some were impressed. All of them were nervous. They are calling emergency sessions in every government, he reported. Some are demanding military action against us. Others want immediate diplomatic contact. And some are probably wondering what other primitive worlds might be hiding similar secrets, added Park Hana with satisfaction. That had been part of the plan, too. By revealing their capabilities, humanity had not just protected Earth. They had made every advanced species in the galaxy paranoid about every primitive world they had ignored. Li Jun walked into the communication center carrying a data pad. I just received a message from our intelligence networks across the galaxy. The Confederation is splitting into 3 factions. Which factions? Asked Ko-min. One group wants to attack us immediately. One group wants to negotiate. And the largest group wants to review their defensive policies because they are now terrified of what other primitive worlds might be planning. Ko-min nodded approvingly. Perfect. Fear is our best weapon. Let them worry about every world they have dismissed as harmless. Outside, the sun was rising over Sol. Earth looked peaceful, but appearances could be deceiving. Humanity had just announced to the galaxy that they were no longer playing by anyone else's rules. The question now was whether the galaxy would adapt to humanity's presence, or whether humanity would have to teach them more lessons about underestimating primitive worlds. Either way, Earth was ready. 3 months had passed since humanity's demonstration, and the galaxy was still trying to figure out what to do about Earth. Quan Hai stood in the main hall of the Galactic Confederation headquarters on Nexus Prime. She was humanity's first official ambassador to the galaxy, though she had been preparing for this job for 20 years. Behind her stood a small group of human diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. Around them, representatives from 847 different alien species watched nervously. Most had never seen a human before. All of them had heard the stories. Honored members of the Confederation, Quan Hai began in perfect galactic standard. Earth thanks you for agreeing to these negotiations. Counselor Methtar, the elderly silver-skinned alien who led the council, nodded politely. Ambassador Quan Hai, we welcome you to this assembly. Though we must admit, your species has caused quite a stir in our normally peaceful galaxy. Peace through ignorance is not real peace, Quan Hai replied calmly. It is just delayed conflict. Murmurs rippled through the assembly hall. Some aliens sounded angry, others sounded thoughtful. A few sounded scared. On Earth, Lim Siok monitored the negotiations from his command center. As the commander of humanity's occupation forces, he was responsible for managing the captured alien ships and their crews. More importantly, he was ready to respond if the diplomatic talks failed. Status report, he ordered. All systems green, replied his communications officer. Our fleet is positioned and ready. The quantum weapon network is fully operational. The lunar and Mars bases report maximum readiness. What about the prisoners? Commander Vestan and his crews are cooperating fully. They have provided detailed information about Confederation military capabilities, trade routes, and political structures. Lim Siok nodded. The alien prisoners had been treated well, but they understood their situation. They had tried to invade Earth and failed. Now they were sources of intelligence about the galaxy that humanity needed to navigate. Back on Nexus Prime, the negotiations were not going smoothly. Your species has demonstrated alarming military capabilities, said Admiral Kethvar, the Confederation's military commander. How can we trust beings who have been spying on us for over a century? How can we trust beings who tried to enslave our entire planet? Quan Hai responded without hesitation. You sent warships to Earth with the intention of conquering us. We defended ourselves. That is not aggression. That is survival. But your technology, protested a insectoid alien from the Science Council. You claim to be a young species, yet you have capabilities that surpass our most advanced civilizations. This is impossible, Quan Hai smiled coldly. It is only impossible if you assume that advancement requires peace. Your species achieved harmony and stopped innovating. We achieved weapons and kept improving them. Song Yan, humanity's chief galactic strategist, had been listening to the debates for hours from her position in the human delegation. She had spent her entire career studying alien psychology and culture. She knew exactly what the Confederation feared most. If I may, she said, standing up, I think there is a fundamental misunderstanding here. The alien council turned to look at her. Song Yan was young, barely 30 years old, but she spoke with the confidence of someone who had been planning for this moment her entire life. You assume that because we hid our capabilities, we are naturally deceptive. You assume that because we prepared for war, we are naturally aggressive. Both assumptions are wrong. She walked to the center of the hall, where a holographic display showed the locations of all Confederation worlds. We hid our capabilities because we learned early that the universe is dangerous. We prepared for war because we understood that peace requires strength. We studied you for a century because we wanted to understand our neighbors before revealing ourselves. Then why did you attack our military installations? Demanded Admiral Kethvar. We did not attack them. We demonstrated our ability to disable them. If we wanted to attack, those installations would no longer exist. Song Yan's voice was calm but carried an edge of steel. That demonstration was designed to prevent a war, not start one. On Earth, Kim Day watched the negotiations while analyzing data from across the galaxy. The alien communication networks were buzzing with activity. Every world was discussing the implications of humanity's reveal. Park Hana, look at this, he called to his partner. The Confederation is fracturing. 17 member species have withdrawn from military cooperation agreements. 23 have increased their defensive spending by over 300%. And 41 are conducting secret evaluations of primitive worlds in their territories. Park Hana studied the data. They are terrified that other primitive worlds might be hiding similar capabilities. Exactly. We have not just changed how they see us, we have changed how they see everyone. That had been part of humanity's long-term strategy. By revealing their secret development, they had forced every advanced species to reconsider their assumptions about technological progress and military power. Back on Nexus Prime, Counselor Methtar was trying to restore order to the increasingly chaotic negotiations. Ambassador Quan Hai, he said, what exactly does Earth want from this confederation? 3 things, she replied promptly. First, formal recognition as a sovereign civilization with full diplomatic rights. Second, fair trade agreements that treat us as equals, not as primitives to be exploited. Third, a permanent seat on the Confederation Council. The hall erupted in protests. Dozens of alien voices filled the air, speaking in languages from across the galaxy. Some were outraged at humanity's demands. Others were arguing among themselves about how to respond. Admiral Kethvar slammed his fist on his desk. Impossible! Your species has been part of galactic civilization for less than a year. You cannot expect to be granted senior status. We have been observing galactic civilization for over a century, Quan Hai corrected. We understand your politics, your economics, and your military capabilities better than most of your member species understand each other. Song Yan stepped forward again. With respect, Admiral, we are not asking for these privileges. We are stating the new reality. She gestured toward the holographic display, which now showed the current military positions of various fleets across the galaxy. Earth currently controls technology that allows us to strike any target in Confederation space within minutes. We have weapons positioned throughout your territory that you cannot detect or disable. We have intelligence networks on most of your worlds that have been operating for decades. The hall fell silent. Song Yan continued speaking in the same calm voice. You can choose to recognize us as equals and benefit from cooperation with us. Or you can choose to view us as enemies and discover exactly how much damage a primitive species can cause when properly motivated. Is that a threat? Asked Admiral Kethvar. It is a fact, Song Yan replied. The choice of how to interpret it is yours. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. The holographic displays showed every star visible from Nexus Prime flickering simultaneously for exactly 10 seconds. When the flickering stopped, Song Yan smiled. That was just a reminder of our capabilities. We can manipulate stellar fusion reactions across the galaxy. If we wanted to cause real damage, we could make stars go nova. The alien delegates stared at her in absolute terror. The technology required to affect stars was beyond anything the Confederation had ever imagined. How? Whispered Counselor Methtar. The same way we developed everything else, Song Yan said simply. We never stopped trying to build better weapons. On Earth, the demonstration had been coordinated from a facility that officially did not exist. Lim Seok watched the alien reactions with satisfaction. Stellar Manipulation Network is shutting down, reported his science officer. All systems returning to normal status. Excellent. That should end any discussion about military action against us. He was right. Within hours, every faction in the Confederation that had been calling for war against Earth suddenly became very interested in peaceful negotiations. The talks on Nexus Prime continued for 3 more days, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had demonstrated that they were too dangerous to fight and too valuable to ignore. The Terra Accords were signed on a Tuesday morning. Earth became the newest senior member of the Galactic Confederation, with full diplomatic rights favorable, trade agreements, and a permanent seat on the ruling council. But Quan Hai knew this was just the beginning. After the ceremony, she met with Song Yan in a private conference room. Phase 1 complete, Song Yan reported. We have successfully integrated into galactic civilization. What about Phase 2? Quan Hai asked. Song Yan pulled out a datapad containing classified information that even most human governments did not know about. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected signals from outside the galaxy. There are civilizations out there that make the Confederation look like children playing with toys. Quan Hai nodded. How long do we have? Unknown. But the signals suggest they are aware of us now. Our demonstrations may have attracted the wrong kind of attention. Then we better start preparing the Confederation for what is coming.